You are listening to a Raptors podcast, the place every week for all things Raptors. Get ready and never underestimate the heart of a champion. Welcome back to a Raptors podcast. I am your host, as always, Lucky Roberts, and I'm here talking to you after the Raptors fall to the Golden State Warriors by 15, 120 to 105, and it looks like a bad game, 15-point difference. But, I'm not too upset with the performance. Obviously, Scottie Barnes goes out pretty early. He was on track to have a great game, 10, 6, and 3. Hopefully he figures out what's wrong with his hand. He collided with Immanuel Quickley's shoe, basically, there in the second quarter, and he was out there. Immanuel Quickley actually got a bit shaken up, looking like me on the couch there in the fourth. But it was not enough as the Golden State Warriors coasted in the third and fourth quarters to take the game. And you look, once again, another great game for Grady Dick, who's slowly becoming a really great rookie, and he's making a push for that all-rookie team. I don't know if he'll ever get it, but it's just something to keep in mind, I think, as he's really been turning it on here. 12 points, 3 rebounds, really solid performance for him. And without Scottie Barnes in that third and fourth quarter, the Raptors sort of fell. And, there were performances like Grady Dick and Kelly Olynyk, who I thought was really impressive, had a couple of steals, and 3 steals for him in this one, 16 points, 10 rebounds, did a good job against Sarge. And, coming off the bench, he did a great game. And despite good performances across the board, it was just not to be, you would say. Gary Trent really struggling in this one once again. But other than that, everybody did their job. Quickly, 11 assists. You'd like him to score and be a bit more efficient. But you're going to take 11 assists, 3 turnovers, 12 points, 5 rebounds is, what you expect from him. But it's tough when you lose your star player in Scottie Barnes. And the Warriors are a good team. They've been on quite the run of recent. I think it's 15-3 or something crazy like that. Still 10th in the West. Maybe this win brings them up. I haven't really checked since the game. But they are, chugging along there with the Lakers in that 10-9 spot, trying to push forward and behind some great performances. A great turnaround for them with Curry playing, as always, so great. Thompson, Clay figuring out what he's doing. A lot of Raptors fans think, maybe we have the second coming of Klay Thompson with Grady Dick, who continues to be one of the most efficient shooters of the last couple of weeks here. Really, really excited to see what he can build upon this. And Grady Dick really has a lot of the capabilities that you see from a Klay Thompson. You would like to see better defense from Grady, for sure, but you can see his playmaking getting better. He's figuring out, the offense, the ball movement, which I think was pretty good in this one, all saying. The defense just really didn't pick up the slack, and that's something that's been the story of the season, basically. We've traded away OG, we traded away Pascal, and all of a sudden, our defense is one of the worst in the league, efficiency-wise, and, I think we're in the low 20s. We have a middling offense and a bad defense, and that's why we're 22-38. You see guys like Bruce Brown coming in. He did a good job in the post, actually, against Sarge on one possession. I thought was pretty cool to see him do that. But when you have, just a couple of good defenders instead of all the way down your lineup, when we had Nick Nurse, that's really what we had. And that was the style Nick Nurse wanted to play. And Darko, different style. Masai sees that and gets different style. And I think that's just a testament to how good Masai is and how good Masai can be. I apologize once again for my computer going crazy. But Masai does such a great job of connecting timelines, such a great job of connecting players and coaches and aligning their visions. And this team, it has a long way to go, but I want him to be the one pursuing the future for this team because he does such a great job of it. And I think there's just so many little things that he does for this organization that other GMs wouldn't take into account. And I think he really, truly cares, and he puts his full effort into it, and he cares about being a Raptor. And if a person of that capability and of that quality in any job is excited and very loyal. And I'm sorry, Siakam, but we did do bad by you there, and you fit that mold pretty perfectly. But especially when there's no salary cap, that's the type of guy you want to keep. And I'm happy to call him my coach. Like GM at this point. It's one of the few gold spots on this Raptors team, and it's something to look forward to because I truly do believe in him. And you can see bringing Kelly Olynyk, that was a great deal. Bringing in Quickly and Barrett, not the greatest game for Quickly, but he had a good one with Barrett against the Mavericks on Monday, and not Monday, Jesus Christ, Lucky, Wednesday, thank you, and you can see what they bring to the table and why they fit so well and how well they can play, and they also fit the timeline. Obviously, Olynyk, not really a timeline fit, but he's a team fit for sure. He's stretching the floor. He's moving the ball well. He actually played some pretty good defense, as I continue to bring up today, with 3 steals. And especially when you're playing a Warriors team who sort of lack a big center, you obviously look towards Looney. But the Warriors, their success has been small ball, shooting threes, and they've basically been playing Draymond at the 5, maybe Kuminga a little bit, both power forwards there. But it's a really interesting squad they've got there, and it lets you get away with playing a Kelly Olynyk. And Podol still isn't really imposing 14 rebounds. Offensively, though, only 10 points. You would like to see him get a bit more involved, especially against a team where they don't have a center. But he's just not that type of guy. He's sort of a cover my butt, I will say, if they have a big dominant center, but he's not a big dominant center himself, and nobody's worrying about him really. And it allows you to play with Kelly Olynyk, and it allows you to play with Chris Boucher, who saw a little bit of time in this game, although he probably should be getting more. It's just he's not going to develop in the future. There's no real reason playing him coming off the bench, and I can see why Darko has made that choice. And you just have to think, why are we playing Bruce Brown then? And what fit does he really have? Is he going to develop? He's obviously younger than Chris Boucher, but it's just something you have to think about. Obviously, I think Bruce Brown is a better player at this point in his career than Chris Boucher, but I think if we were playing our best players, I think Chris Boucher is in this off of the bench, and I think it's something we need to see how it goes. I don't think he's a Raptor for much longer, but that's just that's the way it goes, and that's the era that we have left. As I quickly transition before I transition, the transition before the transition, as Siakam always likes to get into that. Before we move on to the Mavericks game, I would like to talk about Javon Freeman Liberty and DJ Carton. DJ Carton had a decent game in this one. 5 points. He was in for 5 minutes basically. 2 assists. He hit his 3 and 2 free throws, and he fits with the team well. But the player that got rewarded with that last roster spot was in fact Javon Freeman Liberty, who has been with the 905. He's been with the Raptors, played 2 games this season. Today was his 3rd, after signing a contract which, according to Shams, is a multi-year deal. Javon, I saw on Twitter, praising the Lord himself for the contract. He coming out of DePaul, he's a really interesting player for the 905. He's been amazing, 23 points. He was great for DePaul, and I think he can fit well with what the Raptors have. We do sort of need off the bench point guard. If you just look at the way our roster is constructed, I don't really know how much we're gonna see him play. I mean, DJ Carton got more time off the bench, so who really knows? But I mean, everybody got time off the bench in this one. Jalen McDaniels make an appearance, because the Raptors, although being close at halftime, were not close by the end of the game. And it was a good game for Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Klay, Moody, Kuminga as well, especially. An interesting stat line for Draymond here. Regular Draymond stat line: 6 points, 13 rebounds, 1 less than our 7-foot center, Jakob Podol, and also threw in 5 assists, a steal, and a block. And so it was a great performance from him. But I am going to now talk about the Mavericks game, which the Raptors also lost. This one a bit more of a high-scoring one, 136-125. And it was Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, who dominated this one. And the Raptors were just not able to keep up the scoring. The third quarter was the big difference. Raptors stayed pretty close, won the second quarter, only lost the first quarter by 2, won the fourth quarter as well. Third quarter, they let it loose a little bit. 40 points, the Dallas Mavericks hung upon the Raptors' heads. Raptors only throwing in 25, and that's the difference that you've seen in this game. But Doncic and Irving both combining with really great performances. Doncic with 30 and 16, and it really was a MVP-worthy performance in that game. He had 2 for 6 from 3. He's really exploded as a three-point shooter, and he's becoming, as you would expect for being so good, so young, getting even better, and he's going to be crazy dominant. If he does decide to stay in Dallas or if he moves somewhere else, maybe we're looking at a Denver as the critics, I don't know about critics, but the media continue to push the agenda that those two should play together. And I mean, if you saw the passing, no dribbles down the court in the All-Star game, and, just their general, excitement towards surrounding each other, it's pretty evident that that is going to be something that happens in the future. I mean, Doncic has a lot of Serbian connections, and Jokic, being the Serbian king that he is, has a lot of Serbian connections, and I can see them and they can see them, and everybody can see that that is something that's going to be in the cards, I think, for them in the future. Where is it going to be? When's it going to be? That's all a matter of the future. But Luka Doncic, what a player, and what a great thing to see him doing so well. Kyrie Irving, once again, still, honestly, he sort of gets lost in the mix when you think of these stars of the NBA nowadays. He's sort of a player of a bygone era who's still in peak form, you would look. I mean, I wouldn't, maybe not peak, but pretty darn close to it. And, maybe just a different type of peak. But he's, 26 points per game, 5 and 5. It's really all you can ask of him. Maybe you would expect him to be a little better defensively on the whole. But in this game, he had 2 steals and a block. And that's all you can really ask. He's putting in effort. It's an interesting backcourt defensively, as I continue to mention, but it's one that seems to work, as the Mavericks are 34 and 25, and it was a great performance for their new pickup from the Charlotte Hornets, PJ Washington. I thought that was a great deal for them, making a move. They sort of had to make one because they're not really contending, but they're sort of, they have to pick a choice, and obviously the choice when you have Luke on your team is to contend. There wasn't a lot of great options out there, and so PJ Washington became their man, and he played really well in this one. 23 points, 5 for 3 from the three-point line, 6 rebounds. Once again, maybe not the best defensively. Didn't matter. They just hung 136 on the Raptors' heads. Tim Hardaway, once again, same type of deal. He's a guy you sort of forget about, but he comes off the bench, gives you 16, and a good 16 at that, and 4 assists, 4 rebounds, plus 14. And the bench is sort of where the Raptors got kicked today. Daniel Gafford as well, who they just added. Another, comes off the bench, gives you 13 and 7. And obviously, maybe this is a little unpedestrian for Gafford, where Hardaway does that on the regular Gafford. 6 for 7, so ultra efficient. But, he was one of the bright spots on the worst team in the league as of today, the Washington Wizards. And they are struggling. And they sent away Gafford for a middling first-round pick, exchanging Daniel Gafford with Rashawn Holmes from the Mavericks. And, it's a middling first-round pick. It's a Thunder 2024. It's going to be in the 20s, in the late 20s. And it's another bench piece for the Mavericks and a bench big, which, he'll probably be, in this one, he split minutes. Actually, Gafford got more minutes than the starting center, Derek Lively, who they just spent a first-round pick on. But Lively as well, ultra-efficient 4 for 4, and that's sort of what you expect him to be, what he was expected to be coming out of college. 5 blocks in this one for him. P.J. Washington actually contributed 3 as well, and the Raptors could not deal. Scottie Barnes with 19, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. Defensively, he was amazing. Podol was defensively amazing in this one. 4 steals, 2 blocks. This is the type of Jakob performance you like to see. And, Derek Lively, not the biggest center in the world, and more of an athletic type mold, the future mold of a center. And Podol was sort of moving him a lot, and it's something you really want to see. And it was Barrett and Quickly, the stars of the show in this one for sure, as I mentioned earlier. Quickly 5 for 11 from 3, Barrett 4 for 6. Barrett struggled from the free throw line, but if you're hitting 4 threes, if you're RJ, you're going to take that and you're going to run with it. Both of them still minuses on the game, but who wasn't if you're a Raptor? The answer is Gary Trent Jr., but he was the only plus on the Raptor squad. But RJ Barrett, Quickly, both above 25 points, and they have just a really nice chemistry between the two of them. Also a little bit of a question mark as a backcourt defensively, just as the Mavericks have, and that's going to be the question for the future, because I think Darko knows how to coach offense, he knows how to grow offense. Can he grow defensively, and can he grow players in that way? Because Scottie Barnes was a lockdown defender before he got here, and Darko gets here, Scottie Barnes blossoms from the three-point line and blossoms playmaking-wise, but can he coach and train guys defensively? And so far, the answer has been no. And some effort plays have been questioned a little bit, but it's hard to have that sort of joy when you're losing 37 games through this point in the season. So you have to take the good with the bad, I think. It was a regular Grady Dick performance, 7 points, 3 for 6, 1 for 3. You'll take that. That's probably what he'll give you most of the time. Kelly Olynyk, another great performance from him coming off the bench, 13 points. You like what you see. Bruce Brown only hit free throws, what have you. Gary Trent was a plus in this game, but still 3 for 8. Nothing to write home about, really. And it was just the Raptors couldn't keep up. And that was the story of this game and sort of the story of the season. As we move on to the game before, which actually earned the Raptors a pizza party, which was a great little joyous moment for the Raptors there. And then we fought Mavericks and Warriors, 2 West Coast teams. Well, West Coast as division-wise, conference-wise, not really geography-wise, I guess, if that's a word. And the Raptors beat the Pacers. So they didn't really have too far to go after the All-Star break. They're playing in Indiana. Stayed there maybe a bit longer. And Ben Mathurin pouring in 34 points, continuing his great performances from the weekend, All-Star weekend. He had a really imposing first game in the Rising Stars Challenge where he's blasting past Keontae George. You liked what you see, and he was a player you sort of hope we would have gotten in the Siakam deal. Just as we got some players back for OG, you would have liked to see a Ben Mathurin included instead of those first-round picks, because I don't really know. It doesn't seem like we're getting a tangible thing with those first-round picks. You know what I mean? Sure, they're just, you can't really pin a quality to it. So seeing Ben Mathurin thrive, and you think that's a young player who fits with our timeline, who we could have used, and we didn't get him. But it's tough. I don't think maybe he just wasn't on the board for the Raptors. And Halliburton had a down game. Raptors did a really good job on him. Siakam did what he does best. 27-9-6. Really showed out this time in Indiana versus the Raptors. They did take the last one on Valentine's Day due to some great plays down the stretch by Siakam. And the Raptors, Scottie Barnes, couldn't replicate his performance from Valentine's Day, but they did get a win. And that's all that matters. 21, 12, and 12 from Scottie, 5 blocks. You love what you see. Offensively, though, didn't hit any threes, 21 points. You're still totally going to take that. RJ, Emmanuel, the backcourt, both around 20 points, both efficient 20 points. You love to see that. Gary Trent, 10 points, whatever. And it was a nice just team win. You know, everybody who comes into the game in this one, you would say, yeah, they did their job. Bruce Brown maybe withholding, but Grady Dick, 18 points, 4 for 4 from 3, 7 for 9 for field goal. Really great play from him. Ochai Agbaji coming in for his first strong performance, 13 points. You like what you've seen there, sort of taking over Jordan Nwara's spot here in the rotation a little bit. Bruce Brown, 16 minutes, 2 points, didn't really do much, 1 for 4, fine. Kelly Olynyk, efficient and dishing it. I didn't know Kelly Olynyk was really this great of a passer, and I guess Masai knew because he's so close to the national team. But he really fits well, and we got him for pennies, and he is passing the ball like Darko needs you to do as a big, and he stretches the floor as Darko needs you to do as a big. And he's the template for the future Raptors centers that I think we're going to be searching for in the future. But it was a win. It was a pizza party. It was happiness, 3 games in a row, and we were able to continue such a great feeling for just a little bit, 3 straight wins, and then we come back down to earth with 2 straight losses. Upcoming games we have for you. On Sunday, the Raptors are home for Charlotte, then Tuesday, New Orleans. I will see you after Phoenix and Portland on the road. It's going to be a 4-game stretch here. Phoenix, New Orleans, maybe some tough games there. But you're expecting to scrape together 2 wins against Charlotte and Portland. And should be a 2-2 week. 3-1 maybe if we're lucky. 1-3 maybe if we're unlucky. We'll have to see how it goes. But that's going to do it for the Raptors portion of this podcast. I will be back just to do a quick look around the NBA landscape, and then I'll have you guys on your way. So I'll be back in a sec. All right, and I am back here. NBA landscape for you. Boston Celtics, 8 games ahead of the Cavaliers and the Bucks, who are sort of trying to catch up. The Knicks have fallen off a ledge, as well as the 76ers started struggling. Magic caught right up to them. Pacers as well. Heat as well. And they're all sort of fighting within that spot. And 76ers really would have expected a lot more. I know they traded away James Harden, and that loss is a pretty impactful one for them. They didn't really replace his production a lot. Obviously, you have Maxey, who took a step, a leap. But, you know, Maxey was already on the team, you know. So, still, it's interesting to see how, over the course of the year, Nick Nurse and the 76ers do outside of, you know, their past performances. And Embiid, Maxey, Nurse don't seem to be in the greatest of spots right now. The New York Knicks, who were in a great spot with OG, suddenly struggling without. And, you know, the injuries, you can obviously put a big blame on that, and hopefully they'll be right before the playoffs. But they do still find themselves in 4th, and I think they'll take that at the end of the day. But 3-7 in their last 10 is not what they would like to be. And the Pacers, the Heat, and Magic 76ers are all looking up and saying, we can take that spot right back from you if you are not careful. Rounding out the next 2 play-in spots are the Bulls and the Hawks, who have solidified it a little bit. I mean, as much as you can solidify it when you're 26-33. And that is what the Atlanta Hawks currently are at this point. Neither of these teams really know what they're doing, and that's why they find themselves in 9th and 10th. Then it's the Brooklyn Nets and the Toronto Raptors, both beside each other. Raptors 5-5 in their last 10. Just chugging along as the season continues. And the Nets, are falling, fading a little bit. Raptors might overtake them by the end of the season. But both teams, just like the Bulls and the Hawks, maybe they're a little bit more sure of where they're going, but they're not really. And they're just chugging along as the season continues. And then you have the bottom of the East, the Hornets, the Wizards, and the Pistons. Pistons did lose today, so they're now back to being the worst team in the league. But Wizards lost 13 in a row, and they do not look to be looking back. Into the Western Conference now. Obviously, you have the three top teams in the Clippers trying to stay there, but they're 5-5, same as the Raptors in their last 10. Nuggets, Thunder, and Timberwolves all continuing to be huge, great forces, and two young teams in the Thunder and Timberwolves in first and second, and the established Nuggets and Clippers right behind. Then you have the established Suns, young Pelicans in fifth and sixth, pretty close to the Clippers themselves. And then rounding out the stacked, loaded Western Conference, the Kings in seventh, with the Mavericks, basically the exact same record, with the Mavericks winning against the Raptors, then losing. 8-5. Both teams pretty similar. They score a lot of points, don't play a lot of defense. And that's why they see and sit where they are. The Warriors, with this win, actually did move up into ninth, although they still basically have the exact same percentage as the Lakers, .541, so could really flip at any moment. But Warriors, 8-2 in their last 10. They've been on a tear of recent and continue that against the Raptors. And the Lakers find themselves in 10th, followed behind by the Utah Jazz, who, if they were in the East, they would be in the play-in tournament. Obviously, they're not, and they're 5.5 games behind the Lakers for a spot in the play-in tournament. Not even close to being likely to be in. Rockets, once as well, similar story. Grizzlies, not a chance. Trailblazers, Spurs, rounding out the West. And so that is going to do it for a Raptors podcast. I've been your host, Lucky Roberts. Thank you for listening. As always, thank you so much. Follow me on Twitter. Do what you want to do. I'm not going to force you to do anything as my notifications are going off crazy here. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully we see some wins upcoming in the week. I would be, if I'm a betting man, I would bet on we would see some wins, as we have some pretty easy games coming up after a rough patch just now. Lucky to get the wins that we did. And I'm liking what I'm seeing from this team. It's been encouraging, obviously, the 3-game win streak, and the losses have been encouraging losses against some good teams. Anyway, as my computer is really annoying me, I am going to say goodbye. So thank you guys for listening for the third time today. And as always, have a good day.